Today I've got Erica here in the studio to help me make a contrasty photo on a full-length white background. Stay tuned for today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey there everyone, welcome back. Here I am, as always, answering your photography questions right here on Adorama TV. If you've got a question, you know what to do by now. You just go to askdavidbergman.com and submit that form on the site. If it's one that I think is going to help a lot of other photographers, I just might pick your question to answer here on a future show. This week I've got one sent in by Carter G, and he wants to know, I've been shooting people full length on a white background in my home studio. They look pretty good, but my photos don't have any contrast. How do I get those nice shadows on my model while still having a white background? Thanks so much, Carter, for sending in that question. I'm so happy to be here with Erica in the studio here in New York City. I've got this great big space here, and I have set up a big 9-foot white seamless behind me so I can try to answer your question. The main thing, Carter, when you're doing a portrait in a space like this, there are white walls everywhere. I'm guessing that's the case in your home studio, and the light just bounces around everywhere, so it's very hard to control. Photography is all about the control of light, right? You really have to pay attention to where the light's coming from and use it and manipulate it so you can make the pictures you want. Now, you talked about contrast, so that means what's probably happening without seeing your photographs is you're just blasting light and it's just going everywhere and bouncing back, and it's hitting your background and your foreground, and there's no separation, and it's really hard to control. So I'm going to talk about really the main ways that you would do that. So what we're going to do today with Erica is we're going to build up a photograph sort of one step at a time and hopefully get to that point that it'll really answer your question, Carter. So what I've got here is I'm using some older studio lights. These are the ORLIT RoveLight 600s. I've got PocketWizards on them so I can fire them from my Canon. This is the R5. I'm using the 24-70 2.8 lens, and again, PocketWizards to control all these lights, to trigger all these lights. So what I'm going to do first is we're just going to take a straight shot. I'm just going to use this 48-inch glow beauty dish, I think they call it. I'll put a link to all this stuff in the description, so there's no issue there. I've got the egg crate grid on it just to sort of try to control the light. That's the first thing I would do to keep the light from going everywhere. These lights come with these egg crate grids, and so by putting it in there, it really narrows the field of it narrows the spread of the light, so it doesn't quite go everywhere. It's just going to go forward. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So Erica is just going to come on up here, and I'm just doing this is just sort of a straight down kind of a shot. And by the way, exposure-wise, just so you know, I'm at 200th of a second at 5.6 at 100 ISO. So we've got plenty of light here coming through, and let's just go full body. And okay, so you can see from that shot that the background has kind of gone gray, right? Because I'm only lighting her from the foreground, from the front, and the light is totally fine there. She looks great. But the background's not white, right? So really to get it white, you have to light the background separately. Now I could, I suppose, put her up closer to that background and use the inverse square law to get more light on that background. You can Google that. I've done videos about the inverse square law. But basically, the light would be more similar on her and on the background. So it'd get whiter, but then we'd have a shadow because we're just using the one light. Not ideal. So really the best way to do it is to separately light that background. So I've got two more of these ORLITs that I'm going to go ahead and turn on. And basically, there's a couple ways you could do these. Well, the main thing is that these lights, if you didn't have a reflector or anything on these, if this reflector was off, then what would happen is this light is going to go everywhere, right? So it's going to spread around, it's going to go all over the place. By using something like this reflector that comes with the light, or a softbox or an umbrella with a black backing on it, something to control the light, right? So I want the light to hit the background, but not to come forward. That's the main key here. So in this case, I'm just using a reflector because it came with the light. It's very simple. And by aiming it straight at the background, that way it's not going forward. This black part is blocking the light from going forward. So Erica actually moves up just a little bit. That light's not going to hit her. Now, one thing with these backlights, you want to make sure, if you want to light this background evenly, you want to sort of cross light. So if I'm not going to aim this light straight at this end and aim the other light at the other end. I want this light to be aimed at that far end, and that light on that side to be aimed at this far end. And they sort of cross, and that's going to give us the most even background possible. So what I'm going to do is now make another picture with those backlights, and without hitting my head on the thing here. And let's go ahead and fire away. Perfect. And now you can see the difference. We have our beautiful full-length picture. And because I'm separately controlling these two, the foreground and the background, I can now control that light. Now, the issue, the problem that Carter was having, I believe, is you're kind of seeing it here, right? It's really hard to control that light because it's kind of just going everywhere in this room. So the main way to do that is we want to block as much light as possible from these walls. Now, I'm not going to repaint my studio. That would be a hassle. But there is a simple solution, and it's called V-flats, right? So V-flats are simple wooden boards, not wooden, excuse me. These are usually made of foam core. These are the ones from V-Flat World. And these are nice because they actually fold in half. Normal V-flats come in two giant, 6 foot or 8 foot high pieces of foam core, and black on one side and white on the other. And the thing is, those are really unwieldy. They're hard to deal with. So these V-Flat World ones actually have Velcro in the middle, and they fold in half, so they're only half this size when they ship, and they're a little bit easier to travel with. I don't know that I would travel with them, but a little bit easier than traditional foam core, than traditional V-flats. So the inside is the black part. Well, you can go either way, white or black, of course. In my case, I'm going to put the black on the inside, and I'm going to get these right up in here, sort of as close to Erica as I can, which now you probably can't see me, but that's okay. And she's pretty far forward, so I'm gonna move these forward a little bit. And just the thing is, I want this light that's coming from this back wall and all around to be blocked, right? So hopefully, if I do it right, we'll block that. So let's put the other one in here. And I just realized you're not gonna see that much when I do this. No problem. I just realized I'm now blocking this camera, but you get the idea. If you can just pull that back. There we go. And basically build kind of a little cage for Erica here. So you're probably not seeing her. So there you go. Peek around and say hi. So real quick, I'm just going to do a picture and then we'll get her out of her cage. But just so you can see how that works, she's completely surrounded by black, but I've got one narrow strip in the middle where I can see that background. And I'm not really concerned that I don't have the whole wide background, because when I do this in Photoshop, as long as that background is white, as long as the part that's up against her is white, I can just crop her out of it, and I can always add as much white as I want. So let's do another vertical shot here, and I haven't changed any of my exposures or anything, but let's see what happens when I take this picture like so. Boom, and there that is, right? So now what you can see, there's a big difference there. If you look closely at the two pictures, the one before the V-flats and the one after the V-flats, it basically has flipped everything, right? So without the V-flats, sort of the outside of your subject, of her face, of her legs, everywhere, the light is on the outside and it's darker on the inside, and I basically flipped that. Now it's brighter on the inside and darker on the outside. So I've created a bit more separation from that background because we've got a white background. So I think it's a personal choice, but I think it looks better to have your subject lit and then have them separated with some shadow around the outside and then have the background lit white. So that's a pretty nice picture. So that's really what it's about. It's about using something. Now, you don't have to use these big V-flats. I have used sound curtains, right, that I have to shoot my videos. Anything that's black, you could get black bed sheets if you wanted and hang them. There's a lot of anything that's going to block as much of the light as possible. If you're only doing a headshot, you could do them with much smaller black pieces of foam core and that kind of thing. One more thing I like to do when I'm shooting on a white seamless, is the ground. I don't really like the ground to just be white. I like to have a bit of a reflection. This isn't what you asked about, Carter, but I recently purchased this giant piece of plexiglass. Sometimes it's called acrylic plexiglass. It's all basically the same thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down on the ground underneath Erica, and she's going to stand on it once I get it in there. And that's probably fine. Okay. And yep, and just for fun, I'm going to get sort of a low angle so you can really see what's happening here. And bring your elbows in just a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Boom. And look at that. Now we've got a really nice reflection on the ground. And let me make a few frames while I've got you. And just to make sure, but that plexi makes such a big difference to that floor. And Erica knows what she's doing. Bring that arm in just a little bit. There you go. Perfect. And one more. Boom. So there you go. That's kind of how it works, right? It's about controlling light. And by using a combination of white and black, you can really switch back and forth between those two things and really decide how you want the image to look. So it's up to you at the end of the day. I hope that helps you. Carter, huge thanks to Erica. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it and helping me out here in the studio. You all know her, but I'm going to make sure to put a link to her Instagram in the description. Remember, if you're not already a subscriber to the Adorama YouTube channel, do me a favor and go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. Hit that little bell icon. You'll be notified as soon as new photo shows come out from myself and all the other hosts right here on Adorama TV. I'm going to be back here next time with a brand new question, so keep them coming. Erica knows where to go. You just go to askdavidbergman.com and fill out that form. Thanks again for watching. I'm going to see you next time right here on Ask David Bergman.